I was secretly in love with my best friend's aunt for 3 years. I had planned to announce our relationship on our 3rd anniversary. The day before, I went with my best friend to her company to congratulate her on the successful completion of a new project. But instead, I saw the woman I loved locked in an embrace with her male executive assistant. My best friend exclaimed, "Wow, looks like my aunt's got some good news to share soon." My nails dug into my palm as I played along. Yeah, they look really good together. Chapter 1. When my best friend and I arrived at Isabel Valerius's presidential office, she was just getting up. Slipping off her high heels, she walked over to the floor-to-ceiling window, glanced down, and tapped something on her phone. My screen lit up instantly. I ducked out of my friend's view to see her message, "Just finished work." Seeing the dark circles under her eyes, my heart ached with sympathy. A newly appointed president facing a corporate financial crisis, the weight on her shoulders was immense. I was glad I hadn't disturbed her while she was busy. I was about to walk over when my best friend, Brian Valerius, yanked me behind a large potted money tree, signaling me to keep quiet. Her executive assistant, Ethan Goldsmith, knocked and entered, striding gracefully over to Isabel. Dressed in a sharp suit and leather shoes, he exuded an air of erudition and competence. He adjusted his tie, revealing long, elegant fingers. Brian raised an eyebrow. "Holy crap, Sincere. Am I seeing things? A drop-dead gorgeous guy like that. He couldn't actually be having a secret office romance with my aunt, could he? Of course not, I thought. The person with your aunt is me." Tomorrow would mark 3 full years since Isabel and I got together. Even though it was a secret relationship, I was convinced she loved me and that our bond was unbreakable. I had no doubt about it. But in the next second, Ethan leaned in and whispered something in Isabel's ear. She pretended to be angry and playfully punched his arm, but he just laughed heartily and wrapped his arm around her narrow waist. He pulled her completely into his embrace. An unexpected chill crept into my heart. But Brian, thrilled, grabbed me and charged straight into the office. "Aunt Isabel, I caught you red-handed. You owe me hush money." Isabel's gaze swept over us and her expression instantly turned cold. "Who gave you permission to barge in here without my approval?" Ethan quickly let her go, his cheeks flushing red, but Isabel's hand on his arm only tightened. "Why are you being so harsh?" Sincere said his mom made some calming soup and brought a portion over for you, Brian explained. Isabel's eyes landed on me, and I gave a slight nod. But this soup wasn't made by my mother. It was a labor of love I had simmered all night myself, after researching ancient recipes. I was worried Isabel would work herself to exhaustion, so I had specially sourced the finest herbs. She knew all of this, of course. Exchanging secret messages of affection in front of others was a little game Isabel and I both enjoyed. Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Well, since President Valerius has her late-night snack covered, I guess I'll go enjoy that delicious spicy bullfrog all by myself. I absolutely love spicy food. I can't live without it." But Isabel had an irregular diet in her younger years and a weak stomach. After I learned that, I never set foot in a spicy restaurant again. "No need," Isabel said coolly. "Take it back with you," Brian pouted. And I was hoping to get a bite. "But seriously, you two hit it really well." Ethan glanced nervously at Isabel before speaking up. "It's not a big deal, really. It's only been 2 months. 2 months. I had been kept in the dark this whole time." Brian clicked his tongue in amazement. "My aunt is finally blooming, and she moves fast." Ethan shook his head, a handsome smile playing on his lips. "President Valerius is very devoted. After I left 3 years ago, she never dated anyone else. She still sent me good morning and good night texts every single day. 3 years ago, she had gotten drunk and with a flushed face shyly asked me, can we be together? For 3 years, I stayed up with her through all-night work sessions and sang her lullabies on sleepless nights. For 3 years, she took me all over the country. Under the brilliant fireworks at an amusement park, she told me I was her one and only prince. I gave her all my love, but all along, her heart belonged to someone else. Not long ago, on my birthday, I closed my eyes to make a wish. When I opened them, I saw her looking down, replying to a message. My wish was for a future with Isabel. Was she, at that very moment, hoping for a reunion with the man she loved? Lost in thought, Brian excitedly grabbed my hand. "Sincere, a real couple is the best ship." This is my favorite kind of drama, getting back together with an old flame. My ears were ringing. The world faded away, leaving only my voice, trying to sound calm but unable to hide its tremor. Yeah, they looked great together. A talented woman and a handsome man, a love between equals. They looked far more compatible than she and I ever did. They chatted animatedly, with Isabel occasionally chiming in. Stop pestering him with questions. He's shy. Don't tease him. He knows all of this. There are no secrets between us. Is my nephew bothering you? Do you want to go rest for a bit? I didn't hear a word they said until Brian finally pulled me away. Behind us, I heard Ethan's voice. I told you not to make our relationship public outside the office. If I didn't get a little pushy, who knows how long you would have made me wait. So, it turned out she wasn't against public relationships. She just didn't love me. Chapter 2. The next day was Thanksgiving. Today was the day Isabel and I were supposed to announce our relationship to everyone. After we got together, she was the one who insisted we couldn't let her family know. Our situation is a bit unique. If my sister finds out I tricked a boy almost the same age as her son into being my husband, she would never agree. I believed her, so I willingly waited for myself to grow up before we went public to the people we both knew. 2 weeks ago, I had hugged her and pleaded playfully. My job is stable now, and you're the president. Let's go public on our 3rd anniversary, okay? She agreed without a second thought. And then, the projects at her company suddenly piled up. Forget meeting for dinner, she only just replied today to a message I sent the day before yesterday. I didn't sleep a wink all night. The next morning, with dark circles under my eyes, I stared at the surprise gift I had prepared for her in my closet. A collection of different, cute little tales she liked. I had wanted to offer myself to her as a gift. But now, it seemed there was no longer any need. I slammed the closet door shut. My phone rang loudly. It was Isabel. As soon as I answered, she asked directly, "The Valerius family dinner is tonight. Are you coming?" I clenched the phone, let out a soft chuckle, and asked back, "Do you want me to come?" Isabel was silent on the other end for a moment, then sighed. "Sincere, it is a family gathering after all. Since you're Brian's friend, you're practically a junior member of the family. Why don't you come and join us? 3 years of devotion, only to be dismissed as a junior." I wasn't an idiot. She just wanted to use the gathering as an excuse to lay her cards on the table. Between us, we could only ever be an elder and a junior. Or perhaps we had never even crossed that line. I suddenly understood. Her reasons for never making our relationship public ran deep. A love that no one knows about is so easy to walk away from, just like now, where not even a formal breakup was necessary. Pathetic. How utterly pathetic. A smile touched my lips. "Of course, I'll definitely be there." "I'm bringing Ethan with me," Isabel said, sounding displeased. "Don't worry, I won't get in your way." As if shrugging off a huge burden, Isabel quickly hung up. I didn't understand. How could she go from being so affectionate yesterday to avoiding me like the plague today? I put on my sharpest suit and left the house. The Valerius family dinner was held at the most exclusive hotel in the city, with many business tycoons in attendance. I didn't know a single one of them. Isabel had once told me I didn't need to. But towards Ethan, they were all deferential, calling him the president's right-hand man, terrified of showing the slightest disrespect. The Valerius elders were all remarking on how Isabel, after all this time, had finally ended up back with Ethan. It turned out they had been the golden couple in high school. But back then, Isabel had no status in the family, and Ethan, believing they had no future, left town. It wasn't until Ethan returned and became Isabel's right-hand man that their old flame was rekindled at work. Amidst the chorus of praise, Ethan raised his glass to toast everyone. Isabel walked straight up to him, linked arms, and they both drank their glasses dry. The cheers from the crowd nearly blew the roof off. I just watched silently. In a crowd like this, no one would notice me. I suddenly felt like I had come here just to be humiliated. Isabel knew my personality: obedient, considerate, always thinking of others. She knew I would never make a scene and embarrass her in a situation like this. And of course, I wouldn't. Even if I rushed onto the stage and told everyone I'd had a 3-year secret relationship with Isabel, I would be the only one losing face. But since I was here, it would be a waste not to drink my fill of the fine liquor at the banquet. In the end, Brian had to support a very drunk me to the entrance, telling me to stay put while he went to get the car. The moment he left, I staggered off in the opposite direction. It was Thanksgiving night. and couples on the street were wrapped in each other's arms, whispering sweet nothings. I just wanted to find a corner, have a good cry, and then sleep until I forgot everything. Suddenly, the aroma of grilled meat wafted over. Under the dim yellow lights, a grill house was buzzing with people. This place was famous for its spicy food. I hadn't been here in 3 whole years. As if possessed, I walked inside. Chapter 3. I shuffled slowly to the front desk, hoping to find a seat. "Sorry, sir, it's Thanksgiving. We don't have any tables for one left. Maybe you could come back another day?" I looked back and saw that every table in the restaurant was occupied by pairs of people. I, alone, stuck out like a sore thumb. My stomach let out an inopportune growl. I had barely eaten since yesterday and was starving. The woman I was about to marry was now with someone else, and I couldn't even find a place to eat. It was like rubbing salt in the wound. Just then, a waiter led in a tall, beautiful woman in a long dress. She was also alone, but had made a reservation. She was just about to start eating. Normally, I would have given up and left to find another place. But today, fueled by alcohol, I found a strange surge of courage and walked up to her table. "Hello," the woman didn't stop the motion of picking up a piece of meat. "Not interested, not giving you my number, and not following you on social media." I realized she had misunderstood and quickly bowed my head, speaking sincerely. "Hi, I was wondering if I could share your table? Everywhere nearby is full, and this is my last chance. I know it's presumptuous, so I'll pay for the meal. Would that be okay?" The woman looked up and sized me up with a suspicious gaze. That's when I got a clear look at her face. She was stunningly beautiful. It was hard to imagine how such radiant vivacity and reserved composure could coexist on one face. Her appearance and temperament were both top tier. She gave a slight nod. Overjoyed, I prepared to sit down, but I clumsily knocked over a plate of sliced beef which landed squarely on her high heels. I hurriedly bent down to pick it up, just as she was looking up. Our foreheads collided with a loud thud. Ouch, tears welled up in my eyes, but I still instinctively reached out to rub her head. She gently pushed my hand away. "You're paying for this meal. The cleaning fee for the shoes will be separate." I nodded like a bobblehead. No problem at all. Once I was finally seated, I wrapped a few pieces of grilled beef in a perilla leaf and stuffed the whole thing into my mouth. The bliss was so overwhelming I almost cried. Damn you, Isabel, that goddamn liar. She had stolen 3 years of my youth and my heart. I used to read those trashy 30-second romance snippets in novels. I never thought something like that would happen to me one day. I picked up another piece of meat, dipped it in sauce and swallowed, only to find it tasted bitterly salty. I realized that, without my knowing, tears were streaming down my face. The beautiful woman silently pushed the tissue box toward me. I pulled out tissues, mumbling my thanks while crying and continuing to stuff my face with meat. After I had eaten and drunk my fill, the alcohol completely took over. I held up a piece of meat and tried several times to put it in my dipping bowl, failing each time. When I looked up at the beautiful woman, she had split into several versions of herself, all swaying in front of me. My phone rang. I stared at the dozen or so flashing red and green buttons on the screen, unsure which one to press. A long, slender hand reached over from across the table, swiped the screen, and answered the call. "Sincere, where the hell did you run off to, you brat?" I called out weakly. "Brian. Give me your location." I was confused. He, Brian? Brian was about to lose his mind. He? What he? "Where are you?" The beautiful woman sighed and gave him the address. "At the Star Grill House." Brian burst in and grabbed my ear, looking utterly disappointed. Isabel came too, but she just stood to the side with her arms crossed, her expression cold. Ethan's gaze, however, kept drifting over to the beautiful woman. Chapter 4. The next day, Brian asked me, "How are you having dinner with Victoria Sterling yesterday?" Victoria Sterling? Who was that? I asked him. "You know that beautiful woman from yesterday? Are you kidding me? Who in all of a city doesn't know the Sterling heiress? The bottled water you're drinking right now is from her family's company." Then he added mysteriously, "I heard that Ethan's first love in high school was actually Miss Sterling." I remembered now. I had seen that name before on a financial report at the company. Victoria Sterling's project report took up a full page, leaving only a tiny, insignificant corner for Isabel. What was Isabel's assessment of her back then? Just a spoiled rich kid who relied on her family and would never amount to anything. I believed her then. I believed every word she said. But now, a huge question mark hung over everything Isabel had told me. There was an innate elegance and good breeding about Victoria Sterling that couldn't be faked. Speaking of which, I suddenly remembered I had promised to treat her to dinner. and I ended up dining and dashing. I made myself a glass of honey water to sober up, and my phone rang. It was Isabel. "You were so drunk yesterday, are you okay? I've already called you in sick at the office today." Her tone was familiar and natural, as considerate as she had always been. I couldn't help but remember how strict Isabel used to be about my drinking. "You're only allowed to get drunk when I'm with you." Unfortunately, all those promises were void to me now. That privilege belonged only to Isabel's official boyfriend. I laughed sarcastically. President Valerius, for someone so busy to take the time to care about an ex-boyfriend. I'm truly flattered. Isabel was taken aback, silent for a moment before saying, "It's just concern from an elder. I don't want to see you spiraling like this." The Isabel in my memory knew all my hobbies, would buy me the latest action figures and never call me childish, would drop everything to be with me when I was sick, and would take me to a new city every 6 months, snapping countless photos. In those 3 years, I thought our love was deep enough. The role of the perfect girlfriend she played was so flawless that I couldn't accept this broken version of her now, but she had repeatedly stressed that we were just an elder and a junior. If I continued to pester her, I would lose respect for myself. I replied with a smile, "No need. You no longer have the right to care about me." Chapter 5. Hang up, delete, block, all in one smooth motion. My cloud storage held nearly 10 gigabytes of photos, documenting the sweet moments of my 3 years with Isabel. But no matter how precious the memories, once love is gone, they become a form of torture. I steeled myself and hit the empty button. A person of Victoria Sterling's status would probably dislike being bothered by strangers privately. I went to the Sterling Corporation building, just to try my luck. As I stood there, unsure of what to do, a voice suddenly came from behind me. "Looking for me?" I spun around and saw it was Victoria Sterling herself. I was too drunk yesterday to remember much besides her beauty. Now, standing here in the flesh under the setting sun, the light gilded her silhouette. She was so beautiful it left me speechless again. I nodded quickly and took out my phone. Yes, about yesterday's dinner, and the shoes. How much was it in total? I can transfer it to you. I don't remember. The transaction history, that's my backup phone. No history. Seeing her completely unfazed look, I was at a loss for words. What should I do then? She shrugged nonchalantly. Do you know any places better than the Star Grill House? Just treat me a few more times. With that, she started walking, and I hurried to catch up. When it came to food, I considered myself quite knowledgeable. I turned to her and asked, "What kind of flavors do you like? I'm not picky." I thought for a moment. We had something heavy yesterday. How about something lighter today? I know a clay pot soup place with the most amazing flavor. You're the expert. The clay pot soup restaurant was near the university, a place Isabel and I used to go to often. To my surprise, not long after we sat down, Isabel and Ethan walked in. She looked a bit unnatural when she saw me, but quickly regained her composure. Ethan, however, lacked his usual calm. His expression was a little strange. He actually greeted me. "Sincere, what a coincidence. You're here too. Why don't we share a table?" This was the first time Ethan and I had a proper conversation. I had never even heard Isabel mention the handsome assistant's name before. But while he was speaking to me, his eyes kept darting towards Victoria, as if he already assumed she was in charge of our table. Victoria, however, looked at me and asked, "Sincere, what do you think?" What did I think? I glanced at Isabel's nervous expression, thought about the gossip Brian had told me, and immediately understood. I pulled out the chair next to Victoria. "Come on, sit down, sit down. Let the show begin." Chapter 6. This restaurant's soups were delicious, and their spicy dishes were exceptional, perfect with rice. Ethan asked, "How about the Szechuan boiled beef? The extra spicy version should really hit the spot." Isabel reached out and affectionately ruffled his hair. "As long as you like it." With Isabel's fragile stomach, eating something that spicy would leave her in pain for a week. The thought crossed my mind, and I immediately shut it down. I loved spicy food, yet for Isabel, I had eaten bland food for 3 years. Now for Ethan, she was willing to try extra spicy Szechuan beef. The difference between being loved and not loved was really that stark. I was staring blankly, chewing on my chopsticks, when Victoria pushed the menu in front of me. She pointed to the dishes she had already checked off. "Want to add anything else?" I looked at her. "The bullfrog here is amazing. It's always fresh. I highly recommend it." Victoria drew a check mark on the menu. "All right, we'll add it." But if it's not good, this meal doesn't count. How dare she question my taste as a food connoisseur? I know, you big heiress. Victoria glanced at me and smiled. Still not convinced? I wonder who it was yesterday that swore beef grilled for 5 minutes was the best, only to burn it all. I glared at her. That was because I was drunk. Does that even count? Just then, Ethan interjected. I saw Sincere and CEO Sterling having dinner together yesterday. Are you two old friends? His question made me realize that perhaps our personalities just clicked. This was only our second time meeting, but getting along with Victoria felt as natural as it did with my oldest friends. This easy rapport, where we could casually tease each other, was just like how I was with my best buddy. Isabel, who had been silent, suddenly spoke up. They didn't know each other before. They're not old friends. They're not even friends at all. Although she was speaking the truth, her words left a sour taste in my mouth. Victoria had been quietly sipping her tea. Hearing that, she let out a soft laugh. As she set her cup down, she remarked casually, "Good tea." The atmosphere instantly dropped to freezing. Ethan's excellent professional instincts couldn't stand the awkward silence. Speaking of which, apart from Sincere, the three of us actually have a bit of history from high school. We weren't close. No connection. Now even Ethan's face was starting to look strained. To Isabel, Victoria's bluntness was a blatant provocation. I looked at our strange foursome. Across from me was a couple. On my left was Isabel, dining with her current boyfriend, her ex-boyfriend, and her ex-boyfriend's potential new flame. On my right was Ethan, dining with his current girlfriend and his old flame, the one that got away. All right, I was staying out of this mess. I decided to say nothing and just focus on eating. At one point, Ethan went to the restroom, and Isabel followed him. I glanced their way, then turned to meet Victoria's amused, watched the drama unfold expression. I scowled. What? Victoria teased. What's this? An ex-girlfriend? I knew it. A woman as sharp as Victoria would have figured it out. But I was so used to hiding my relationship with Isabel that I denied it out of habit. What ex-girlfriend? Don't be ridiculous, we're not close. Oh, not close, huh? I thought she would leave it at that. But then her cool voice, laced with a hint of temptation, sounded in my ear again. What if I told you I'm 80% sure I could get that ex-girlfriend of yours to come back to you? Chapter 7. Come back to me? I didn't need Isabel to come back to me. You've already seen it. Isabel is jealous of me, and Ethan wants to please me. All I have to do is say a few words to stir things up, and they'll break up immediately. Your precious Isabel will naturally come back to you. Enough, stop talking. I cut her off abruptly, my tone harsher than I intended. Even though Isabel had broken up with me in an almost heartless way, the good things she did for me during our relationship were real. Right now, my heart was a tangled mess of love and hate, and I couldn't break free. But to team up with an outsider to scheme against them, I couldn't do it. In the end, even if Isabel was a terrible person, she once had a beautiful place in my heart. Coming back to my senses, I immediately apologized. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have yelled at you. But let's just let the past be the past. There's no need to dwell on it. Victoria's expression hardened. But have you really let go? I looked at her, confused. She said word for word, in the hour you've been treating me to dinner, you've looked at Isabel 30 times, but she hasn't looked at you once. It's obvious that the only one in this relationship who can't let go is you. There are 3.5 billion single women in the world. Why are you so hung up on one who cheated on you? Victoria's words were like a switch flipping in my brain, and everything became crystal clear. She was right. What did I have to be sad about? If I gave my heart to the wrong person, I'd just have to chalk it up to a bad investment and move on. My life was still my own. I eagerly picked up the largest piece of bullfrog meat and placed it in Victoria's bowl. Thank you. This one's the juiciest, it's for you. You. Victoria was about to say something else, but the other two returned just then. Ethan picked up his bag, said a quick goodbye, and left. Isabel looked at me, holding her phone. Add my number back, we're splitting the bill for this meal. I froze for a second. I waved my hand. No need. I'll have Brian send you the bill. Isabel didn't expect me to refuse. She stared blankly for a moment, then nodded silently and left as well. I had no idea what kind of game they were playing, but it would be a waste to leave all this food. I devoured the rest of the dishes like a whirlwind. I ate until even Victoria had put down her chopsticks and was just watching me. What? Forget 4 meals, make it 8. Why, I just feel like I'm getting a bad deal. Fine. My appetite was so large even a capitalist felt shortchanged, and just like that Victoria and I became nightly dinner buddies by tacit agreement. When I worked late, she would even drive to my office building and wait for me. I'd slide into her car like I'd done it 100 times, buckle up, and naturally take her phone to type in our destination for the night. Victoria would start the car without a word. We had known each other for only a month, but we had already become the most familiar of dinner companions. Sometimes, when the mood struck, I would buy groceries and we'd have hot pot at my place. It saved money, and she seemed to enjoy it immensely. Victoria really wasn't a picky eater. Whatever I took her to eat, she adapted perfectly. Even Brian thought something was up. "You and Miss Sterling, you're not secretly dating behind my back, are you?" I quickly explained, "We're just dinner buddies. I still haven't finished repaying the favor I owe her from the Star Grill house." Brian reluctantly accepted the explanation. "Man, that's Miss Sterling we're talking about. I mean, you two look good together, but I never in my wildest dreams thought that the model child all the adults used to talk about would end up with a big dummy like you." I threw a pillow at him. "Who's a dummy?" Brian just grinned. "But seriously, my aunt seems to be in a really bad state lately. I heard Ethan is thinking about resigning. I don't know what's going on with them now." Chapter 8. I fell into deep thought. I hadn't seen either of them since our unpleasant dinner at the soup restaurant. They probably had a fight and didn't make up. In the past, whenever we had a conflict, she almost never backed down. But Ethan was different. He was her childhood sweetheart, her publicly acknowledged partner. I figured President Valerius would be willing to swallow her pride to win him back. Lately, though, I'd been receiving anonymous breakfasts and flowers at work. Different every day, but always the things Isabel and I used to love. I couldn't help but suspect Isabel was trying to win me back, so I gave all the food and flowers to my colleagues. That weekend, Victoria said she wanted to take me to a country-style farm she frequented. I hadn't had authentic farmhouse cooking in ages, so I eagerly agreed. But when I went downstairs and saw the woman leaning against a cool motorcycle, holding a helmet, I was stunned. This was way too wild. "Victoria, you better drive safely and obey all the traffic laws, you hear me? My life is in your hands. I'm throwing you off right now." I yelped and threw my arms around her waist. No, don't get distracted. Watch the road." I have to admit, I managed to get a little feel. Her waist seemed really slim. It wasn't until we stopped at the farmhouse gate and she took off her helmet that I noticed something. "Miss Sterling, why is your face so red? Was the helmet too stuffy?" "Shut up, Victoria, and I spent the whole day at the farm having a blast chasing chickens, picking melons, and teasing dogs." It was dark by the time she drove me home. I was about to get off the bike when she called out to me. "Sincere, you've treated me to more than enough meals." She said that, but actually we had split the bill for several of the more expensive meals. Miss Sterling might not be short on cash, but I was. Was she trying to settle the score? Why at this time of night? I stared at her, my round eyes blinking. Victoria's eyes, under her dark, choppy bangs, seemed to shrink a little, and the tips of her ears turned red again. I understood instantly. "I get it, you've been eating too much rich food lately, and your stomach's a little upset, right?" Victoria's face immediately darkened. Sincere, I looked in the direction of the voice and saw Isabel standing at the entrance of my building, her face grim. I hadn't seen her in almost a month. Seeing her again, the sharp pain in my heart had faded considerably. Isabel called out to me, "Sincere, come here. I need to talk to you alone." I hesitated for a moment, then started walking towards her. But Victoria grabbed me from behind and I stumbled backward unexpectedly. She gave my waist a pinch, as if scolding a hopeless case. "You dare go back to your ex behind my back?" "Hold on, lady, we're just dinner buddies. Going back to an ex isn't something we do together. Besides, I had no intention of doing that." I took her wrist to reassure her. "No, of course not." Victoria's fingers brushed against my forehead, gently tucking a stray strand of hair, tousled by the wind, behind my ear. "Good. Your hair was a mess." I stared at her blankly. I knew Victoria's face was a lethal weapon. I felt like my brain had short-circuited. Oh, right. Well, I'm heading up then." Before she could answer, I bolted. Isabel grabbed my wrist, her voice sharp. "What is your relationship with her?" Chapter 9. My brow furrowed instantly. "What does that have to do with you? Didn't you have something to say? If you have something to say, then say it." But Isabel wouldn't let it go. "Have you moved on that quickly? What could Victoria Sterling possibly see in you?" I took a deep breath and looked directly into Isabel's eyes. Aunt Isabel, on what grounds are you questioning me right now? As an elder, do you think you have the right to interfere in your junior's private life? If you're really that bored, you might as well go find some manure to shovel. It would be a better use of your time than going crazy on me here. Isabel buried her head in my shoulder, her body trembling slightly. Sincere, don't say such hurtful things in the past. If she had shown such vulnerability, I would have dropped everything to comfort her. But now I just found her ridiculous. I forcefully pushed her away. Save your sweet talk and your affectionate gestures for your fiancé. When the 3-year illusion of happiness was completely shattered, she should have known that this messy ending was inevitable. I was like a puppet, blindfolded and deaf, played with at her whim for so many years without ever realizing it. I was even willing to offer up everything I had just to make her smile. Now that I wanted to leave, she was the one grilling me. Isabel, you should know better. I turned to leave, but she held onto my wrist tightly. You can't be with Victoria Sterling. She can't give you happiness, I scoffed. What gives you the right to define my happiness? Is it because you strung me along for 3 years, only to announce to the world that you were getting back with your old flame the day before I thought we were going public on Thanksgiving? Isabel, you're such a phony. Isabel's hand finally let go. I sighed and stepped into the elevator. Sincere, is there really no chance for us? The only answer she got was the slow closing of the elevator doors. Victoria's birthday was approaching. Someone had probably already arranged for a large cake, so I decided to bake some small cupcakes myself to bring along. They were all flavors she usually enjoyed. At the birthday banquet, I was chatting with Brian. Victoria approached me. Sincere, want to sit next to me during dinner? I was taken aback. No, I can't do that. The Sterling family had many relatives, and the guests were all rich and powerful. I was in no position to sit next to Victoria. She didn't insist, just nodded and went to mingle with other guests. Brian immediately sidled up to me. Wait, are you two actually together? My aunt has been asking me about you a lot lately. From the way she acts, she's probably fallen for you too. I was nibbling on a cupcake and mumbled, I'm not interested in women right now. I saw Brian's expression suddenly change. I turned around and saw Isabel standing behind me. Sincere, I've broken up with Ethan. From now on, I will be completely devoted to you. We'll get married and have a happy family. Will you give me another chance? Isabel looked even more worn out than the last time I saw her. If she had said these words in the past, I would have been ecstatic. Now they just sounded like a joke. I smiled. Sorry, Aunt Isabel, but I don't have a fetish for dating my elders. Isabel's eyes were red-rimmed. She grabbed my wrist and started to drag me away. Sincere, you're not listening to me. Why are you saying these things just to upset me? She was acting like she had lost her mind. Her grip was surprisingly strong, and my wrist was starting to hurt from her squeezing. Just as I was about to call for help, my body was pulled back against something soft. A familiar voice sounded from above my head. You lay one finger on my husband and see what happens. Chapter 10. My own defenses were about to crumble. Isabel's crumbled even more completely. She asked me in disbelief, Sincere, tell me she's lying. Seeing her about to approach again, I quickly turned, wrapped my arms around Victoria's neck, and pressed myself tightly against her. No, everything she said is true. Since you don't want to marry me, there are plenty of others who do. Victoria's triumphant voice rang out. Did you hear that? Satisfied? If I recall correctly, President Valerius was not invited to my birthday party. Security, show our guest out. Isabel looked completely defeated. Even her back radiated despair as she walked away. I quickly let go of Victoria and bent down to smooth out the wrinkles I had made in her evening gown. She said, exasperated, Sincere, she was trying to drag you away. Couldn't you have called for help? How come you turn into an idiot whenever you're around Isabel Valerius? I wasn't that much of an idiot. If she hadn't shown up, I definitely would have called security. Seeing me silent, she sighed, took my hand and led me into a lounge. She took out a first aid kit, knelt down, and started applying medicine to my wrist. You whine and scream like a baby when you're on the back of my motorcycle if I go a little too fast, but when someone grabs you like this, you don't make a sound. Sincere, people have mouths for a reason. You're supposed to use them to ask for help. My lip quivered. That's just how I am. If someone treats me badly, I can just laugh it off. But the moment someone is kind to me, I can't help but feel a wave of sadness. Wah. Vicky, darling, it hurts. I didn't know if it was my wrist that hurt or my heart. Victoria hadn't expected me to burst into tears. She fumbled, pulling out a handful of tissues. She clumsily wiped my tears away. Once I had calmed down, I asked, feeling a little awkward. "What you said earlier about husband, that was a joke, right? You should probably clear that up so I don't get the wrong idea." Victoria met my gaze. I never joke. She looked down and intertwined her fingers with mine. "I'm asking you, are you interested in trying a relationship with the goal of marriage?" I must have been out of my mind, but either way, she led me to the main table just like that. The Sterling elders were surprisingly warm and friendly. Throughout the meal, I felt like I had never been treated so gently by so many people. I seriously suspected Victoria had planned this all along. "Why did your grandmother say she was so happy to finally meet me in person? What have you been telling them?" Victoria said nonchalantly. "They asked me if there was anyone I liked recently, so I gave them your name." I grabbed her hand firmly. "Tell me the truth, you've had your eyes on me for a while, haven't you?" She smiled and laced her fingers through mine. Yes, I've wanted you for a long time." A week later, Victoria was driving a slightly tipsy me home. We found a drunk person passed out by my front door. "Isabel, wake up. I'll call Brian to come get you." In her daze, Isabel saw me and struggled to get up and hug me. Victoria swiftly kicked her away. "Keep your hands to yourself." But Isabel was persistent. "Sincere, I really know I was wrong. I even brought my legal documents. Let's go get married right now." I turned around, leaned down, and pressed my lips against Victoria's. Sincere, I let out a cold laugh. "Save it. You're not as good as her anyway." Brian arrived quickly and was completely stunned by the scene. I swept Victoria up into my arms, opened the door, and walked inside. "Sorry, buddy. I'll explain another time. You see the situation. Actually, let's just not explain." After the door slammed shut with a bang, I belatedly realized what I had just done. "Wait, Victoria, I was drunk just now. I was just talking nonsense, I don't care. My husband just complimented me in public. I have to live up to it, don't I?"